Let me start by saying this. Your story, your heart, your pain, your joy is not meant for everyone. We live in a world that tells us to be open, to put it all out there as if vulnerability is a performance. But true vulnerability is not about exposure, it's about trust. It's about safety. It's about knowing who has earned the right to hear your story. When we share the most tender parts of ourselves, our mistakes, our dreams, our wounds, we're offering something sacred. And not everyone deserves access to the sacred. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's not a flaw, it's not something to be fixed, hidden, or apologized for. Vulnerability is our most human expression. It's the part of us that says, this is me, unarmored, unedited, real. But here's the thing, just because it's real doesn't mean it belongs everywhere. We've been taught that being vulnerable means sharing everything with everyone, posting our deepest fears online, confessing our personal battles to strangers, speaking before we've processed, and sometimes we do it hoping someone will catch us, will hold our truth with gentleness and say, me too, you're not alone. But when vulnerability becomes performance, when it becomes content, not connection, we strip it of its sacredness. Vulnerability is a sacred act. It is something we offer to those who have proven they can hold it with integrity. It's not for the crowd, it's for the circle. The ones who lean in when things get uncomfortable. The ones who don't weaponize your honesty. The ones who don't treat your story like a piece of gossip or a fleeting moment of entertainment. Sharing yourself deeply is a gift, not a transaction. Being vulnerable isn't about being open with everyone. It's about being open with the right people. People who will not just listen but see you. People who won't just hear your pain but honor it. That's when vulnerability becomes powerful, when it's protected by discernment. We can't make sacred what we keep scattering carelessly. So if you're holding something tender right now, pain, joy, confusion, grief, pause before you share. Ask yourself, is this person safe for my truth? Not just kind, not just present, but safe. Because when you begin to see your vulnerability sacred, you'll stop handing it to people who haven't earned the right to carry it. And when you treat your story with reverence, you teach others how to treat you too. There's a quiet power in knowing that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. We are taught to be open, to share, to connect. And while connection is one of the deepest human needs, we often forget that connection without discernment is exposure. It's like leaving the front door of your home wide open and wondering why strangers walk in and rearrange the furniture. Your inner world, your thoughts, your fears, your childhood wounds, your hopes that feel too tender to say out loud is not a public park, it's a private garden, and not everyone gets to walk through it. Some people haven't earned the right to know your story, not because you're judging them, but because they haven't shown they can handle it with care. Maybe they've dismissed your feelings in the past. Maybe they've broken confidences or used your openness as a tool to control, manipulate, or gossip. Or maybe they simply don't have the capacity to meet you in that deep place, and that's okay. We often feel pressure to be transparent, as if withholding is dishonest. But there's a difference between being dishonest and being discerning. Setting emotional boundaries isn't about hiding. It's about honoring what's sacred within you and choosing wisely who you let in. Ask yourself, have they held space for me before without judgment? Do they have a track record of keeping my trust? Do I feel more whole or more fragmented after I talk to them? These are the questions we rarely ask ourselves when we're rushing to be liked, to be accepted, or to belong, but they are essential to emotional well-being. Your inner world is layered, complex, beautiful. It's made of lived experiences, heartbreaks, hard-earned wisdom, and dreams you're still growing into. That is sacred ground. And people need to show you, not just tell you, that they can walk that ground respectfully. And here's the truth. Some people may feel entitled to your vulnerability. They may say, "You used to tell me everything," or guilt you with, "I'm your friend, why won't you open up?" But your emotional boundaries are yours to hold. You get to evolve, you get to be more protective with your truth. You don't owe anyone access just because they ask. Protecting your inner world isn't being guarded, it's being wise. So give your depth to people who have depth. Share your truth with those who listen with their whole heart. Let your story be met by someone who doesn't just hear you, but gets you. The rest, they can stay outside the gate. With love, but with clarity. We often confuse the two, especially in a culture that celebrates rawness, openness, and telling it like it is. And while those values can be powerful when grounded in truth and trust, they become dangerous when they're mistaken for emotional intimacy. Authenticity is about being real. Oversharing is often about being raw without readiness. There's a difference. Authenticity is thoughtful, it's intentional, it comes from a grounded place inside you, a place that knows who you are and what you're choosing to reveal and why you're choosing to reveal it. It invites connection, but also respects emotional boundaries, yours and others. Oversharing, on the other hand, is usually reactive. It comes from a place of seeking relief, approval, or control. It can feel like emotional dumping. It's when we spill our deepest pain, trauma, or confusion in places or with people who haven't earned the right to hold it. It often leaves us feeling more exposed than connected, more scattered than seen. And yet oversharing can wear the costume of bravery. It can look like, look how open I am, look how much I trust. But real trust is quiet, it's built slowly. It's not proven by how much we reveal. It's proven by how safe and honest we feel while revealing it. Sometimes when we overshare, we're trying to fast track closeness. We think, if I tell you everything right now, maybe you'll accept me. Maybe I'll matter to you. That's not connection. That's desperation dressed up as disclosure. Authenticity says, I choose to show up as my full self, but I don't need to unpack everything at once. I can have boundaries and still be real. I can be honest and still be wise. Oversharing. If I tell you everything, maybe I won't feel alone. Maybe I'll feel in control. Maybe you'll stay. But the truth is, what we rush to share often becomes a weight we regret carrying later. We all want to be known, but the desire to be known doesn't mean we have to hand over our entire life story in the first conversation. There is strength in being selective. There is clarity in saying, this part of me is still healing, I'm not ready to share it yet. There's a difference between being expressive and being exposed. And here's the beauty of it. Authenticity doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. It doesn't need a stage or a social media post. Sometimes it's just a quiet moment of truth with someone who's earned your trust. Sometimes it's telling yourself the truth before anyone else hears it. So before you speak, pause. Ask, am I sharing to connect or to relieve pressure? Am I grounded in this truth or still bleeding from it? Is this person capable of holding what I'm about to give them? Because when you know the difference between oversharing and authenticity, you begin to show up in your life with more clarity, more confidence, and more peace. We often think of trust as something grand, something earned through heroic gestures or monumental decisions. But the truth is, trust is built in small, ordinary moments, quiet, almost forgettable moments, the ones that don't make headlines but make a lasting difference in the heart. Trust doesn't arrive all at once. It's not a switch that gets flipped. It grows layer by layer, word by word, action by action over time. It begins in subtle ways. Someone remembers your favorite tea. They notice when your energy feels off and gently ask, "Are you okay?" They follow through on something small, like texting when they said they would. They laugh with you, not at you. They keep your confidence without being reminded. They sit in silence with you when words are too heavy to carry. These moments might seem insignificant, but they matter because they send a powerful, consistent message. I see you, I hear you, I respect what matters to you. And we begin to believe, maybe I can be myself here, maybe I'm safe. That's how trust grows, not with fireworks, but with flickers. But let's be honest, small moments can break trust too. A promise that's casually forgotten. A dismissive comment disguised as a joke. A story you shared in confidence passed along without your consent. The silence that follows when you expected support. The eye roll when you finally opened up. These things may feel minor in the moment, but they leave a mark. They chip away at the safety we were starting to build. And enough of those chips and the structure collapses. That's why trust isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's not about grand apologies, it's about accountability. It's the difference between I'm here for you and actually showing up when it counts, even in the smallest way. It also works both ways. We don't just need to look for trustworthy people, we need to be trustworthy people. And that begins with how we show up in the little moments. Do we listen with presence? Do we protect what was shared with us? Do we remember what matters to the people we care about? Do we respond with empathy rather than fix-it mode? Because every interaction, no matter how small, is a vote for or against trust. And here's something most people forget. You build trust with yourself the same way. When you keep your own promises, when you honor your intuition, when you treat your emotions with respect instead of shame, those small moments where you choose yourself, even quietly, that's self-trust in action. So the next time you wonder whether you can trust someone or whether they can trust you, don't just look at the big things. Look at the little ones. The way they pause to listen, the way they hold your story without trying to fix it, and the way they say, I don't have the answers, but I'm here. Because trust isn't built with one big act. It's built in the small, ordinary, unremarkable moments that, when added together, become everything. We live in a culture that often glorifies loudness. Say it all, share it now, speak your truth. Always. But here's what that culture forgets. Sometimes silence isn't secrecy, it's self-protection. There are moments in life when our inner world feels too raw, too tender, too sacred to be spoken aloud. And in those moments, choosing silence doesn't mean we're hiding, it means we're healing. Not everything we carry is ready to be shared. Some truths need time to settle. Some wounds need space to scab over before we speak of them. And some emotions need to be understood by us first before they can be handed to anyone else. Choosing silence isn't avoidance, it's discernment. It's the quiet wisdom that says, not now, not yet, not with them. And that's not shameful, that's strong. We confuse silence with secrecy because we've been taught that if we're not speaking, we're suppressing. But there's a huge difference between withholding because of fear and withholding because of self-respect. Silence, when rooted in intention, is a boundary. It says, I'm not ready. I'm still making sense of this. Don't trust this space to hold what I'm carrying. I need to protect my peace more than I need to explain myself. There are people who will pressure you to talk. They'll say, you're being distant or you're shutting me out. But silence is not rejection. Sometimes silence is the safest thing we can offer ourselves. And let's be honest, how many times have we shared something too soon and walked away feeling exposed, misunderstood, or even betrayed? That's the risk of premature vulnerability. When we speak before we're ready, we hand over unprocessed emotions to people who may not know what to do with them, or worse, may not even care. There's power in holding your truth until you feel steady enough to carry it into the world. So if you're silent right now, if you're keeping something close to your chest, know this. That doesn't make you dishonest. That doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you're still honoring your own timing. It means you are choosing self-protection over performance. When we treat silence as a form of shame, we shame the very instincts designed to keep us safe. So be gentle with your silence. Wrap it in compassion and remind yourself, this isn't me being closed off. This is me being wise enough to wait. The time to speak will come. And when it does, you'll be stronger, clearer, and more grounded. And the people who deserve your voice, they'll still be listening. There are parts of our lives so intimate, so raw, that they don't just hold our memories, they hold our meaning. They are the stories that shaped us, the wounds we carry, the hopes we whisper only to ourselves. These things, our most personal truths, are not disposable. They deserve to be treated with extraordinary care. But too often we're taught the opposite. We're told that being vulnerable means being open with everything all the time, that if we're authentic, we shouldn't be afraid to spill our truths into any room, any conversation, any timeline. But here's what that mindset gets wrong. Your most personal truths are not just content. They're part of your emotional DNA. They are not meant to be offered casually or consumed quickly. They are not meant to be passed around or dissected by people who don't understand what it took to survive them. Just like we wouldn't hand someone a fragile piece of glass without saying, be careful, it's delicate, we shouldn't hand people our deeply personal stories without asking, can they hold this with care? Do they have the depth, the empathy, the maturity to receive this well? Some things deserve to be kept close, not because we're ashamed of them, but because they are precious. There is sacredness in privacy. And that's something our fast, noisy, oversharing culture often forgets. Your grief, your trauma, your mistakes, your spiritual journey, your most vulnerable questions, these are sacred pieces of your humanity. Not secrets, not shameful, sacred. And sacred things aren't shared recklessly. They're protected, nurtured, honored. Here's the truth. The more personal something is, the more careful we need to be about who, how, and when we share it. It's not about being guarded, it's about being grounded. It's about knowing that when you speak your truth, it deserves to land in a place that can hold it with reverence, not curiosity, not gossip, not judgment. And this also applies to how we treat other people's personal truth. When someone trusts us with something deeply personal, that is a sacred offering. They are saying, here,